I had crossed oceans and mountains in the name of duty, but in that silent room with its velvet drapes and locked door, the truth settled over me at last. I was not a guest in Castle Dracula. I was a prisoner. From beyond the wood and stone came the sounds of other lives. Footsteps, doors closing, hushed voices I could not understand. So near I could almost touch them. Yet I was utterly alone. I shook the handle until my arms ached, but the iron would not yield. In my mind, I pictured the corridor outside, tapestries, candlelight, empty air, and the unseen presence moving just beyond my reach. Then, as if the castle itself inhaled, every candle shuddered. One by one, the flames went out, leaving only darkness and the sound of my own heart. Fear urged me to hide, but something colder whispered that the only way out was through the shadows themselves. I stepped into underground hallway, my faint candle the only warmth in a world of stone, the stone watching me pass with cold fogs and shadows stretched behind me, long and unnatural. More than once I felt a gaze at my back and turned to find nothing. Every door I tried was locked, every path denied. At last, down a forgotten passage, I found a narrow stairway sinking into the castle's depths, and I followed it. The air grew colder. Whispers curled along the stones. Beyond an archway lay a moonlit chamber, vast, silent, waiting. I stepped inside, and the room awakened. Curtains stirred, figures shifted within the shadows. She came first, pale as moonlight, impossibly beautiful. Then two more, drifting in gowns of silver and white, circling me like an elegant storm. Terror told me to flee. Their soft voices told me to stay. One leaned close, her cold breath touching my throat. And then a presence colder still filled the chamber. The brides recoiled, shrinking from the figure stepping into the moonlight. Count Dracula, tall, rigid, ancient. Not host, not nobleman, but something far worse. That night I swore I would not die in that castle. If no door would open, I would make my own. The ravine below my window yawned like a grave. With trembling hands I climbed onto the ledge, trusting a rope of torn sheets more than the Count's hospitality. I began my descent into the freezing dawn, the wall crumbling beneath me. Wind slammed me sideways. Below, the ravine spun in fog and shadow. I looked up and saw Dracula watching from a high balcony, unmoving, curious whether I would live or fall. A stone broke under my foot. Somehow, the knots held. At last, my boots touched snow, and I stumbled into the forest, branches clawing like skeletal hands. When my strength failed, I collapsed and prayed daylight would find me first. Far away, a ship left port carrying crates of foreign earth, and something unspeakable. The captain wrote of missing men, shifting cargo, and a growing dread aboard the Demeter. Storms rose, as if the sea itself tried to drown what the ship carried. Below deck, coffins trembled with a heartbeat not of the waves. One sailor opened one and vanished. The storm shattered sails and bone alike, yet still the ship pressed forward, guided by a will stronger than any crew. On the deck, shadows moved where no living man remained. The captain tied himself to the wheel, choosing to face his fate standing. At dawn, the ghost ship drifted into Whitby, silent, empty, and carrying death to shore. In Whitby, life pretended to be ordinary. Lucy walked garden paths with Mina, unaware of the darkness now calling her name. She began sleepwalking, drawn toward the cliffs, drawn toward him. Under moonlight he fed, and she returned home paler each day, her life leaking away unseen. Laying in bed looks pale and tired. Van Helsing arrived, a man who believed what others feared to say, and he knew instantly that no earthly illness plagued her. Garlic surrounding her on bed with a bouquet in his hand, prayers whispered desperately. But the shadows thickened each night. Sometimes Lucy fought the protections. At last, she slipped away, peaceful only in death. But death was not the end. In the graveyard, under fog, Lucy rose again. No longer victim, but vampire. Meanwhile, the Count set his eyes on Mina. She woke with marks on her neck and darkness behind her eyes. Van Helsing revealed the truth. We fought not a man, but an ancient predator. We studied his path, from castle to ship to London, and used Mina's terrible connection to him to hunt him. In the fog of London, we finally saw him, the same silhouette that haunted the Carpathian night. We gave chase across countries and seasons, pursuing him back to the land where it all began. Storms rose in the mountains, but we pressed on. Every hour lost was another drop of Mina's life. Our carriage thundered across the frozen plains as Dracula fled, sealed in his coffin of earth. When the castle rose before us, black against a dying sky, we knew this was not just the end of a monster, but a race to save what remained of Mina's soul. We reached his coffin before the sun could set. Steel found his heart. The sunlight he had fled for centuries poured over him at last. His body cracked, crumbled, and scattered. And in the stillness that followed, Mina's eyes were her own again. Castle Dracula stood silent, its darkness undone.